The hallway went silent when Captain Lawson pointed at the housekeeper and said, "She has no right to touch police evidence." Maya Brooks stood beside a trembling retired cop, holding a cracked cassette tape that everyone else wanted buried. Why would a quiet woman with a mop know the number of a case sealed 30 years ago? Why did Harold Whitaker start crying when he heard one forgotten name? And why were two officers suddenly afraid of a recording no one had played in decades? Maya did not raise her voice. She simply looked at the captain and said, "You missed one box." What was inside that box would change Briar Glen forever. The cassette slipped halfway from Harold Whitaker's fingers before Maya Brooks caught it. Its plastic case was cracked at one corner, the clear shell cloudy with age, the tiny reels inside frozen like two pale eyes. Harold stared at it as if it had burned him. Around them, the second-floor hallway of Briar Glen Senior Residence held its breath. The lemon polish on the floor, the warm hum of the wall heater, the faint rattle of lunch carts from downstairs, all of it seemed too ordinary for the way Captain Brent Lawson stood over an old man in a robe. "Hand it over, detective," Lawson said. Harold's lips moved before sound came out. "It belongs with the file." "There is no active file." Maya kept one hand beneath the cassette and the other on the handle of her cleaning cart. The mop water had gone cold. A gray line of foam clung to the yellow bucket. Sergeant Paula Red stepped beside Lawson with a clipboard pressed flat against her jacket. "Ms. Brooks, return to your assigned floor." Maya did not move. Lawson's eyes shifted to her name tag. "You heard her." Harold whispered something. Maya bent closer. "Mr. Whitaker?" His thumb scraped over the cassette label. The ink had faded, but 4 numbers remained. 17-04. Then Harold said the name. "Lena." The hallway narrowed around Maya. The fluorescent light above her clicked once, a dry little sound. Her mother's photograph, folded in the pocket of her uniform, suddenly felt heavy against her ribs. Lawson reached for the cassette. "That's enough." Maya closed her fingers around the edge before he could take it. Not fast, not dramatic. Just enough that the tape stayed between her palm and Harold's trembling hand. "Sir," she said, "he asked me to keep it from falling." Lawson looked at her as if she had stepped across a painted line only he could see. "You clean rooms here." "Yes." "You empty trash. You change sheets. You don't interfere with police materials." Mrs. June Carver stood in her doorway 3 rooms down, one hand locked around the frame. Beside the elevator, a nurse stopped pushing a medication cart. No one spoke. The elevator indicator blinked from 3 to 2, then froze. Harold tried to sit straighter in his wheelchair. His robe sleeve had slipped back, showing an old watch with a scratched face. "She knows," he said. Paula's pen stopped moving. "Knows what?" Harold swallowed. His voice cracked over the words. "The box. They missed one box." Lawson's jaw tightened. Maya heard it then. Not fear, not yet, but a change in the captain's breathing. A small inhale through the nose. A man noticing that a locked door had been found open. "What box?" Maya asked. Harold turned his head toward the storage room at the end of the hall. The door was painted beige like every other door, except the top hinge had a strip of blue tape across it. Maya had mopped past it every Tuesday. She had stacked towels beside it, unplugged vacuums near it, smelled dust under it whenever the air conditioner kicked on. Lawson stepped between Harold and the door. "Sergeant, remove the item." Paula extended her hand toward Maya. "Give me the tape." Maya looked down at Harold. His fingers were still wrapped around the cassette, nails pale against the plastic. He was not strong enough to pull it back, but he would not let go. "Mr. Whitaker," she said quietly. "Do you want me to give it to her?" His eyes filled before he answered. "I gave it away once." The nurse by the elevator lowered her gaze. Lawson's face hardened. "This man is confused. He has been confused for years, and you are making it worse." "Then why are you here?" Maya asked. The question did not rise above a normal speaking voice, but it changed the hallway. Mrs. Carver's fingers tightened on the doorframe. The nurse's cartwheel squeaked as she shifted her weight. Even Paula glanced at Lawson, just for half a second. Lawson smiled without warmth. "Because some people still respect procedure." He reached past Maya and took hold of the evidence box sitting on the hallway bench. It was brown, old, the corners softened by years of storage. A fresh white label covered part of the original seal. Maya had noticed it when she came around the corner. She noticed everything in rooms people thought she only cleaned. As Lawson lifted the box, the bottom sagged. A thin folder slid out and slapped against the polished floor. Paula bent quickly, but Maya saw the stamp before the sergeant's hand covered it. Brooks, Lena M. The sound in Maya's ears became the slow, thick beat of her own pulse. Lawson tucked the folder back under the box lid. This is exactly why civilians stay out of official business. Maya's hand went to her pocket, pressing the folded photograph through the fabric. Harold leaned toward her, breathing hard. "Not civilian," he whispered. Lawson heard him. "What did you say?" Harold lifted one shaking finger toward Maya, but his eyes stayed on the captain. "She came back," he said. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime behind them, and inside stood Evelyn Price, the residence director, staring at the box in Lawson's arms as if she already knew it should not be there. At 6:45 a.m., Maya Brooks pushed the linen cart out of the basement elevator. One wheel clicked over the tile seam, a sound in the quiet lobby. The morning smelled of bleach, coffee, and rain in wool coats. Evelyn Price stood behind the front desk with a paper cup. "You're early," Evelyn said. "Laundry jammed again. Thomas swears he fixed it." Maya gave her a look, and Evelyn sighed. "I'll add it to the list." She folded warm towels, corners matched, seams turned inward. People trusted neat stacks more than explanations. Then Maya saw Harold Whitaker's door open 2 inches. A radio murmured weather under static. Harold sat by the window, newspapers tied with kitchen string on his lap. Maya knocked. "Housekeeping." His fingers tightened. "Don't throw those out." "I wasn't going to." "They told you to clear paper from rooms." "They tell me a lot of things." His room smelled of old books and shaving soap. On the dresser stood a framed Academy photograph beside pills he had not touched. "Breakfast first," Maya said. "Later. Yesterday nobody came looking." "Who came looking?" "A man from the department. Shoes too clean for weather. Asked if I remembered a woman." "What woman?" The top newspaper slid sideways. A headline showed through. "Local mother missing after reporting city records error." Maya's hand went still. Harold covered the headline. "Not trash." "No," Maya said. "Not trash." In the hall, 2 aides near the medication room fell quiet. Sergeant Paula Red had entered the lobby, dark jacket flat at the shoulders. Evelyn met her at the desk. "Sergeant Red, we weren't expecting you." "I'm here for a welfare check on Mr. Whitaker." "At 7 in the morning?" "It won't take long," Harold whispered. "That's not the one from yesterday." Maya reached for the papers. "May I put these in your closet?" "No." His hand caught her sleeve. "If they take them, I won't find the other thing." "What other thing?" His eyes moved to the bottom drawer. Footsteps approached. Maya slid the papers beneath his blanket and smoothed a wrinkle on the bed. Paula appeared in the doorway. Ms. Brooks. Sergeant. Residents' personal documents are not housekeeping concern. I'm changing linens. Captain Lawson asked me to make sure Mr. Whitaker isn't keeping materials that distress him. Harold's mouth trembled. Brent sent you? He's looking out for you. No, his father used to say that too. Rain tapped harder against glass. Paula stepped in. What did you say? Harold looked at Maya. There was a box. Brown. Basement label. Maya felt the folded photograph in her breast pocket shift. Her mother stood in that picture in a yellow dress. Paula closed her clipboard. This is exactly the kind of agitation we're trying to avoid. He's remembering, Maya said. He's deteriorating. Then maybe let him finish before deciding which one it is. Paula looked at her. Be careful. Maya lowered her eyes, not from surrender, but to hide where she was looking. The bottom drawer of Harold's nightstand was open a finger's width. Inside lay the corner of a cassette case with a faded label. Harold saw that she had seen it. Lena, he whispered, so softly the rain almost took it. Tell Lena I kept it. The name stayed in Maya's ears after Sergeant Red left. At 7:18 a.m., Harold's breakfast tray sat untouched. The oatmeal had skinned over. Rain drew lines down the window, turning the courtyard maples into yellow smears. Maya changed the pillowcase slowly. Mr. Whitaker, she said, when you say Lena, do you mean Lena Brooks? Harold stared at the glass. Yellow dress. First time she came in. Maya's fingers closed around the cotton. In her pocket, the old photograph pressed against her ribs. What did she come in for? To tell us the clock was wrong. He rubbed the chair arm. No one listens when a woman says time is wrong. Who asked her that? His jaw moved, but no sound came. A cart squeaked outside. Paula Red's voice cut through the hall. Room checks on this floor. Maya reached for the tray. You should eat. She had a boy, Harold said. Tea spilled into the saucer. A boy? Red Hood. Kept touching the badge on my desk. Caleb had owned a red hooded coat. Their grandmother had kept it because nobody could throw it away. Maya pulled a napkin from the cart. Harold took the pen and wrote with small broken letters. Lena Brooks. Under it, he added, 416. What is 416? Maya asked. The minute they cut out. From what? Paula appeared in the doorway. Mr. Whitaker needs rest. He's having breakfast. He's becoming fixated. Maya folded the napkin, hiding the writing. He asked for tea. Paula stepped inside. Open your hand. Harold's chair scraped. Leave her. Captain Lawson is concerned that interference is worsening his condition. Maya opened her hand with the blank side showing. A damp ring from the cup had spread across it. Paula took it. She saw only the stain. You need to remember your position here. Maya met her eyes. I do. Mrs. Carver moved past the door with her walker. She glanced at Maya's pocket, where the photograph had slipped out. Paula noticed. What is that? Maya pushed it back in. Personal. Not if it relates to him. It doesn't belong to him, Harold whispered. It belongs to the woman. The radiator clicked 3 times, then hissed. Paula pulled open the bottom drawer. Socks, a comb, a cracked wallet, no cassette case. Maya had moved it before Paula returned, sliding it beneath folded towels on her cart. Paula shut the drawer. From now on, all visits to Mr. Whitaker's room go through nursing staff. No private conversations. He asked for housekeeping, Maya said. He doesn't decide protocol. Harold's voice came thin. I decided plenty once. Paula turned. And look where that got you. Harold's hand fell from the armrest. His fingers searched the air, then closed around nothing. Paula adjusted the clipboard. "This is for his safety." Maya lifted the tray. "Then let him eat while it's warm." "It's cold," Harold said. "I'll bring another." She rolled the linen cart into the hall. The cassette rested under 3 white towels. As she passed Mrs. Carver, the older woman slipped something into Maya's apron pocket. In the service closet, Maya shut the door and unfolded it. It was the napkin. The stained side was blank. On the other side, in Harold's shaking hand, was one more line Paula had not seen. "Ask about Lawson's father." The service closet bulb flickered above Maya's head. She kept the napkin flat on the metal shelf, one palm over the words. "Ask about Lawson's father." The ink had bled where tea touched it. Beyond the door, trays rattled, and the elevator groaned upward. Maya folded the napkin twice and tucked it inside her shoe lining. When she stepped out, Evelyn Price waited by the nurse's station, her gray cardigan buttoned wrong. "My office," Evelyn said. The room smelled of paper and peppermint. A certificate hung crooked beside a calendar marked with city inspections. Evelyn lowered the blinds. "What happened in Harold's room?" He remembered a name. "Sergeant Red says you encouraged delusions, handled property, and questioned an officer. I asked why they came before breakfast." Evelyn rubbed her forehead. "Our city care contract renews next month. I cannot have Captain Lawson deciding this building is difficult. Harold is a resident, not a box on a shelf." "I know that." "Then say it when they're here." Evelyn's mouth opened, but no words came. A knock hit the glass. Paula entered without waiting. Behind her stood a younger officer with rain shining on his jacket. He was black, early 30s, broad-shouldered, with a notebook held too tightly. "Deputy Mark Ellison," Paula said. "He'll inventory Mr. Whitaker's materials." Mark gave Maya a nod that looked like an apology. Evelyn stood. "Inventory requires my approval." "It requires department authority," Paula said. Maya followed with clean towels as cover. Harold sat facing the window, hands folded under the blanket. He did not turn when Paula opened his closet. "Start with the boxes," Paula told Mark. 3 cardboard boxes sat on the upper shelf. Christmas cards, old socks, newspaper clippings tied with string. Mark lifted the first 2 gently. The third had a white label across the side. Maya stopped. The label looked new, bright against the softened cardboard. Under its edge, an older red evidence seal showed through like a cut lip. Mark noticed, too. His thumb hovered near the corner. Paula snapped. "Don't peel anything." "I was checking the inventory number." "It's listed." Maya stepped closer. "That label wasn't there Monday." "I dusted that shelf. The box had a torn red seal. No white sticker." Evelyn whispered. "Maya." Harold's head shifted. "Basement label." Paula pulled the box down herself. "Residents move things. Staff misremember. That is why civilians don't document evidence." Mark wrote something, then stopped when Paula looked at him. "What are you writing?" "Condition of item." "Right. Personal effects. No visible concern." His pen stayed above the page. Mrs. Carver stood near the laundry alcove. A nurse paused with medication cups balanced in a tray. Maya set the towels on Harold's bed. "If there's no concern, leave it here." Paula's voice softened. "Miss Brooks, you have crossed several lines today." "Which line is asking that an old man keep his property?" "The line where you assume this is about property." Mark looked up. Paula caught herself, lifted the box, and moved toward the door. A stale smell came from the cardboard. Dust, damp basement air, and old tape adhesive. Harold reached out, fingers trembling. Not that one. At the threshold, the fresh white label lifted from moisture on Paula's sleeve. Maya saw the old writing beneath it. Case 17-04. Brooks. Then the sticker pressed back down as Paula carried the box into the hall. The activity room clock read 2:07 p.m. when Thomas Reed brought the tape recorder in a laundry basket. He was 59, thin as a broom handle, with silver hair tucked under a faded maintenance cap. The recorder sat beneath a folded tablecloth, its black plastic scratched, one speaker dented inward. "This thing ate a hymn tape in 1998, Thomas muttered. "So if it chews up whatever you've got, I don't want my name in it." Maya closed the activity room door behind him. "Your name isn't in anything. That's what people say right before my name ends up in everything." Harold sat at the card table near the window, his robe tied unevenly. Rain had stopped, but the glass still held gray light. A bowl of wrapped peppermints sat between him and Maya. He kept touching the pocket where the cassette should have been, then remembering she had it. Maya placed the tape on the table. Harold exhaled through his nose. "Don't let him hear it first." "Lawson?" Harold nodded once. Thomas plugged the recorder into the wall. The cord sparked faintly, and he slapped the side with 2 fingers. Old things need manners. Maya pressed play. The reels turned. Only hiss came out. Harold leaned closer, his hands flat on the table. The sound filled the room like steam escaping a pipe. Maya heard the radiator ticking, the hum of the soda machine in the corner, Thomas breathing through his teeth. Then nothing. Thomas adjusted the volume. The speaker crackled. "No voice," he said. Harold's face loosened. No, she spoke." Maya stopped the tape. "Maybe the recorder head is dirty." Thomas opened the cassette door and peered inside. "Maybe it's blank." "It isn't blank," Harold said. His voice was small enough that Thomas looked away. Maya took a cotton swab from the first aid cabinet near the craft shelves. Alcohol smell sharpened the air. She cleaned the little metal head while Harold watched every movement as if she were touching a wound. The door opened behind them. Captain Lawson stood there with Evelyn Price beside him. Evelyn's mouth was tight, her fingers twisted around a folder. Lawson looked at the recorder, then the cassette in Maya's hand. "Interesting choice of recreation," he said. Thomas straightened. "Found equipment in storage. Thought residents might like music." "Mr. Whitaker does not need stimulation involving police matters." Harold pushed back from the table, but the chair wheels caught on the carpet edge. Lawson stepped closer. "Harold, we're arranging a quieter placement for you. A medical wing with better supervision." Maya looked at Evelyn. Evelyn would not meet her eyes. "When?" Maya asked. Lawson smiled. "That is a family and administrative decision." "He doesn't have family here." "Exactly." Harold's hand found the table edge. "I'm not going." "You are not well enough to decide that." The recorder's play button remained half depressed. Maya noticed the tape had not fully stopped. One reel twitched, then froze. A tiny mechanical click sounded from inside the machine. Click. Pause. Click. Maya lifted her head. "What?" Thomas whispered. She pressed rewind for 2 seconds, then play again. Hiss returned. Under it, so faint it could have been dust moving, came a low thump. Then a woman's breath. Harold closed his eyes. Lawson said, "Turn that off." Maya did not. She turned the volume higher. The speaker screamed with static. Evelyn flinched. Thomas grabbed the table. A woman's voice rose and vanished. "The clock was changed." Then hiss swallowed it. Harold covered his mouth with both hands. Maya's throat tightened, but her face stayed still. That was a voice. That was interference, Lawson said. Thomas shook his head. No, that was recorded. Lawson looked at him. You are maintenance. And that is a recorder. Evelyn whispered. Captain, maybe we should document this properly. Lawson turned slowly. What you should do is protect your residents from unauthorized agitation. He reached for the machine. Maya removed the cassette before his hand touched the buttons. For a second, the room did not move. The light from the window rested on the cracked plastic shell in her palm. Lawson spoke quietly. Ms. Brooks, you are putting your job at risk. Harold stared at Maya as if she were standing at the edge of a bridge. Maya slipped the tape into her apron pocket. Then write down what I did. Lawson's expression changed, not enough for the others to name, but enough for Maya to see. He had expected fear to do the work for him. Instead, Harold whispered, 416. Thomas frowned. What? Harold pointed toward the silent recorder. The cut, he said. Play it slower. The dining room smelled of chicken broth, warm rolls, and disinfectant. At 12:12 p.m., Maya stood beside the service cart with a tray balanced against her hip. Harold sat at table 7, where the window light came in weak and yellow through rain-streaked glass. He had not touched his soup. His spoon rested near the bowl, trembling each time the wheels of a cart passed behind him. Mrs. Carver leaned across from him. Harold, you used to take sugar in coffee. I don't remember coffee. You remember what you need to remember. Maya set a napkin beside his hand. Mrs. Carver, did he ever say anything about 416? The older woman's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Harold looked down. Mrs. Carver's voice dropped. Only at night. At night? The walls are thin. 3, sometimes 4 in the morning, he'd wake up saying, they changed the clock. Same words. Over and over. She pushed a green bean with the edge of her fork. I thought it was a dream. Harold's spoon slipped from his fingers and struck the plate. Everyone nearby turned. The sound was small, but it cut through the room. Conversations fell away, table by table. Evelyn, standing near the coffee station, looked toward the hall. Thomas stopped refilling water glasses. Then Captain Lawson entered. He did not hurry. His coat was dry, his shoes polished, his face arranged for witnesses. Good afternoon, he said. Harold? Harold's shoulders drew inward. Maya moved 1 inch closer to his chair. Lawson noticed. Ms. Brooks, residents usually eat better when staff don't hover. Mrs. Carver wiped her mouth. He hasn't eaten because you keep frightening him. A chair scraped 2 tables over. Nobody laughed. Nobody rescued the sentence. Lawson kept his smile. June, I know this is emotional for people who care about him. He was a detective before you had that badge, she said. Paula Red appeared behind Lawson, clipboard at her side. Deputy Mark Ellison stood near the doorway, rain still darkening the cuffs of his uniform. He did not step forward. Lawson leaned slightly over Harold's table. You've had a long morning. We're going to move your appointment up. Harold's hand searched for the spoon, found only the cold edge of the bowl. No transfer, he said. It isn't a transfer. It's observation. Maya asked. Where? Paula answered for him. County Medical Unit. Mrs. Carver whispered. That's not in Briar Glen. The dining room air changed. A woman at table 3 lowered her bread roll. An aide looked at Evelyn, waiting for her to object. Evelyn's fingers tightened around the coffee pot handle. Harold tried to push his chair back. The wheels locked against the table leg. I have to finish it. Lawson bent closer. You finished nothing 30 years ago. Let the department handle its own history. Maya saw Mark's pen move. Paula saw it too. Deputy. Mark closed the notebook, but not before Maya caught the first words. Captain stated. Lawson straightened. Ms. Brooks, I'm asking one last time. Stop feeding him these ideas. Maya picked up Harold's spoon, wiped it on a clean napkin, and placed it beside the bowl with the handle facing his right hand. He told me the ideas before I asked questions. Convenient. Not for him? Harold lifted his eyes. There was a woman. Lawson's jaw worked once. Harold, Paula said, softer now, don't do this here. Harold's fingers closed around the spoon. It tapped the plate again, slower this time. Yellow dress, red hood, clock on the wall said 4:22. Tape said 4:16. A murmur crossed the room. Maya kept her face still, but the photograph in her pocket seemed to press harder against her heart. Lawson turned toward the residence. This is what confusion sounds like. Memory fragments, names, colors, numbers. They feel real. Mrs. Carver pushed herself up with both hands on her walker. Then why did you know which numbers to fear? The question hung over the trays and cooling soup. Lawson looked at her, and for the first time that afternoon, the polished calm left his face. Mark stepped forward. Captain, I checked the archive request log. Paula snapped, Not here. But Mark had already taken the folded page from his pocket. Case 17-04 was pulled last Thursday. No court order attached. Lawson said, Deputy, step into the hall. Maya looked from Mark to Paula. Paula's hand had gone white around the clipboard. Evelyn set the coffee pot down. The glass bottom clicked against the warmer. Harold whispered, They're still moving boxes. Mark's eyes met Maya's across the dining room. He did not say the rest aloud, but he turned the paper just enough for her to see the requesting name printed at the bottom. B. Lawson. At 3:36 p.m., the front doors opened and cold air slid across the lobby tile. Maya was wiping coffee from the warmer stand when two attendants in gray county jackets came in with a folded wheelchair. Behind them, Paula Red carried a blue transfer packet. Captain Lawson stood at the desk. Harold sat by the aquarium with a blanket over his knees. Orange fish moved behind him in slow flashes. He watched the chair unfold as if it were weather coming for him. Maya set the cloth down. What is this? Paula did not look at her. County observation transport. He refused. He is not being asked. Evelyn's face looked thin under the lights. Maya, please don't make this harder. Harder for who? Lawson turned. For a vulnerable resident, you keep upsetting. Maya crossed to Harold. His fingers worked the blanket seam. Mr. Whitaker, she said, kneeling. Do you understand where they're taking you? His mouth opened. No answer came. One attendant snapped down the footrests. Mrs. Carver flinched near the hall. Thomas stood by the elevator. Harold whispered, If I leave, they take the box. Paula opened the packet. Ms. Brooks, step back. Evelyn, he has the right to call an advocate. Lawson gave a dry laugh. You've been watching too much television. Mark Ellison entered from the parking lot, rain dark on his shoulders. Captain, I didn't know transport was approved. It was approved above your pay grade. By medical staff? By people responsible enough not to turn a residence into a courtroom. Maya rose. Then show the signed order. Paula lifted the packet, not close enough to read. Administrative placement. That isn't the same thing. Your expertise is impressive for housekeeping. The words landed in the lobby. The aquarium pump hummed. Maya looked at Evelyn. Say something. Evelyn's hand tightened on the counter. The residence has to comply with police requests. No, Mark said. Police don't issue medical transfers. Paula snapped the folder shut. You're relieved from duty for the week. I'll need your access badge. Maya unclipped the badge from her uniform. The plastic was warm from her body. Harold caught her sleeve. Don't let them make you disappear, too. Maya placed the badge on the counter. Paula picked it up, but it slipped from her fingers and hit the polished floor face down. No one moved. The rectangle lay between Maya's shoes and Lawson's polished ones, the clip bent open like a broken mouth. Maya lifted the badge and handed it to Paula, photo side up. Keep it clean, she said. Lawson's jaw set. Escort Mr. Whitaker. The attendants moved in. Harold's body went rigid as they shifted him into the county chair. No one shoved him. Every strap, every folded blanket, every polite "sir" turned the lobby colder. Maya stepped back because Mark touched 2 fingers to his notebook. As they wheeled Harold toward the doors, he twisted his head. Laundry room, he said. Slow speed. The automatic doors opened. Rain smell rushed inside. Maya watched the county van pull away, then looked at the counter where Paula had left the blue packet for one careless second. Through the clear plastic cover, she saw Harold's transfer form. The signature line was blank. At 9:48 p.m., the laundry room was the only warm place left in the building. Maya sat on an overturned detergent bucket with Harold's cassette in her palm. Behind her, wet sheets turned behind glass doors, rising and falling in pale circles. Each rotation made a soft thump. Thomas crouched by the outlet. If Evelyn finds us, I was fixing lint traps. You are fixing lint traps. I am holding a screwdriver for support. Maya slid the cassette into the recorder. The room smelled of hot cotton, bleach, dust. Thomas tapped the speed dial. Quarter speed. It might reveal what the fast parts hide. She pressed play. Hiss. Then a woman's breath came through the speaker. My name is Lena Brooks. I am making this statement at 4:16 p.m. Maya's hand tightened around the handle. The wall clock in interview room 2 says 4:22. Lena continued. That is not correct. The tape began before they changed it. A younger male voice entered. Mrs. Brooks, just answer the question. No, I already answered. I saw the evidence envelope before Detective Whitaker came back. The seal was open. Lena's voice dragged under the slow machine. Ask why Officer Lawson took the box out before the detective signed it. The dryer thumped once, and a sheet slapped the glass. Maya closed her eyes. For 28 years, she had been allowed only fragments. Yellow dress, soft hands, coconut oil. Now the dead had shape in the room. Breath, defiance, a date. A sharper voice cut in. Turn that off. The recording warped, then fell into hiss. Thomas sat back. Captain Lawson's father. A phone buzzed on the folding table. Maya took it before Thomas could answer. A text filled the cracked screen. Police are asking who is with you. Leave now. Somewhere upstairs, an elevator bell rang. Maya ejected the cassette and slipped it into her sock. What are you doing? Thomas asked. If they search pockets, they find pockets. Keys sounded in the corridor. Thomas killed the light. Only the dryers glowed, turning sheets into ghosts. Maya stepped behind a rack of clean uniforms. Paula Red's voice came through the door. Thomas? He opened it halfway. Sergeant, lint trap emergency? Where is Ms. Brooks? Suspended, last I heard. Don't be clever. I'm too tired to be clever. A flashlight beam slid across the machines, then stopped on the recorder. What is that? Old junk. Play it. Thomas pressed the button. Empty reels clicked without a tape. Paula stared at him. Where is it? Where is what? The light moved toward the uniform rack. Maya held her breath. Then Mrs. Carver called from the hall, thin but steady. "Sergeant Red, Mr. Alvarez fell near the elevator." Paula turned. "Did someone call nursing?" "He's on the floor." The door shut. Maya stayed still until the keys faded. Thomas exhaled. "There is no Mr. Alvarez." Maya came out from behind the uniforms. Her fingers could not untie her shoe. She pulled the cassette free and held it with both hands. Thomas looked at her. "You heard your mother." Upstairs, Harold was gone because he had tried to give back one truth. Maya placed the tape inside a clean bag and sealed it. "Now we make a copy," she said. The hallway phone began to ring. The archive phone rang 6 times before someone answered. "Briar Glen Municipal Records," a man said, voice dry as paper. Maya stood in the laundry office while Thomas's copier warmed behind her. Harold's cassette lay in a clean plastic bag beside the receiver. "My name is Maya Brooks," she said. "I need to verify a police archive request for case 17-04. Public records hours begin at 9. It's about a resident moved tonight on an unsigned form." The man lowered his voice. "Who did you say you were?" "Maya Brooks." Paper shifted. "This is Victor Hale. I knew your grandmother." Maya gripped the cord. "Then you know why I'm calling." 2 knocks tapped the hallway door. Mark Ellison slipped in, rain clinging to his uniform. Thomas whispered, "You bring half the department?" "Only the half still thinking," Mark said. Victor spoke again. "Case 17-04 was requested last Thursday at 5:32 p.m. Not by evidence, not by court order." "By whom?" Mark unfolded a page beside the cassette bag. At the bottom was the name from the dining room, B. Lawson. Victor did not answer for 3 seconds. That request should not exist. The main evidence box was transferred in 1997 to auxiliary storage, he said. "Where?" "Personal repository connected to the late Deputy Chief Warren Lawson." Mark's face changed. "The captain's father." The copier clicked, toner mixing with damp cotton. "Can you prove it?" Maya asked. "I can prove a transfer number, not what was inside. Don't bring me the tape tonight. If anyone is watching records, you'll lose it." "Then where?" "There's an old visitor ledger at the residence. Police used your basement for overflow storage. If the box passed through, it was signed in." Thomas shook his head. "Basement records room. Locked. Evelyn has the key." Slow wheels sounded in the hall. Maya slid the tape into her shoe. Evelyn Price appeared in the doorway, wearing a coat over her nightclothes. "Why is a suspended employee in my laundry room with police paperwork?" "Because Harold was taken on a blank signature line." Mark laid the transfer copy on the desk. Evelyn's thumb moved across the empty place where a doctor's name should have been. "I asked Paula if it was complete," she whispered. "What did she say?" "She said Captain Lawson handled the rest." "The basement key is in my office," Evelyn said, then stopped. "If I open it, I lose the contract." "If you don't," Maya said, "Harold loses the only chance he has to come home knowing he wasn't crazy." Evelyn looked at Maya's badge lying face down on the desk. After a moment, she pressed it into Maya's palm. "Then you're back on shift. For tonight only." They took the service stairs because the elevator camera blinked red. Basement air met them cold and sour, carrying concrete dust and wet cardboard. Inside, boxes filled metal shelves. Thomas pulled the chain light. Dust floated down. Mark found the ledger on a rolling cabinet. Maya opened to 1997. Her finger moved down dates, badge numbers, signatures. Then it stopped. Warren Lawson had signed one box in at 4:43 p.m. Below it, another name appeared in smaller handwriting, Harold Whitaker. And beside Harold's signature, Someone had written one word in pencil. Returned. Rain tapped the basement window well, like fingernails. Maya kept her finger on the penciled word until graphite smudged her skin. Returned. The ledger lay open on the cabinet, pages swollen from damp air. Thomas held the chain light. Mark stood at the door. Evelyn whispered, "Return to whom?" Maya read the line again. Warren Lawson, Harold Whitaker, 4:43 p.m. "He signed it back," Mark said. "Or someone wrote that after," Maya answered. Thomas leaned closer. "Pencil is newer than ink." Maya closed the ledger. Harold said he hid a second copy. Evelyn's keys shook. More cabinets behind the supplies. They moved between shelves stacked with bingo boards, lamps, and boxed wreaths. The air smelled of cardboard, rust, and sour cloth. Maya's shoe rubbed against the cassette with every step. At the back wall, a framed photograph rested face down on a crate. Maya lifted it. Dust coated the glass. A younger Harold stood near a banquet window. Beside him was a woman in a yellow dress, one hand on the shoulder of a small boy in a red hooded coat. Maya stopped breathing. She turned the frame over. Her thumb left a line through the dust. On the backing, someone had written, October 17th, 1997. Briar Glen Autumn Fund. Below that, if tape fails, ask HW about room 2 clock. Mark took off his cap. That matches the recording. Maya touched the boy's red hood through the glass. Caleb's face was half turned, laughing at someone outside the frame. For years, he had been a missing sound in the house, a bedroom no one opened. Here he was, holding a paper cup. A phone vibrated in Mark's pocket. "Paula," he said. Evelyn reached for the ledger. "Don't answer." Mark put it on speaker. "Where are you?" Paula asked. "In my car." "No, you're not. Your cruiser is still outside." Paula's voice dropped. "If you are with Brooks, leave now. Lawson is pulling hallway footage." Maya stepped closer. "Why are you warning us?" A long breath came through the speaker. "Because the transfer order wasn't medical. It was custody under another name." "Where is Harold?" Maya asked. "County Annex, East Wing. No visitors until morning." "Is he safe?" "He's alone," Paula said, "and Lawson is on his way there." The line clicked dead. Thomas whispered, "That's it. We go." "No," Maya said. "We find what Harold left." She slid the photograph from the frame and folded the backing into her coat. HW might not be just initials. Mark aimed his flashlight toward the last row. A marker? A place. Behind a metal cabinet, wall paneling sat unevenly. Thomas pressed the edge with his screwdriver. The panel fell with a scrape. Inside was a metal cigar tin wrapped in a yellowed handkerchief. Maya opened it. There was no tape, only a key, a brittle envelope, and half of a photograph. On the envelope, Harold's handwriting read, "For Lena's children, if I fail again." Maya's knees weakened, but she stayed standing. From upstairs, the basement door opened. Lawson's voice carried down the stairwell. "Evelyn, I know you're here." Mark shut off the flashlight. Maya slipped the envelope inside her uniform, against the old photo she had carried for years, and the two pieces of paper touched like they had been waiting for each other. The hearing room lights were too white. Maya sat at the long table with the envelope pressed flat beneath both palms. The paper inside had softened from the warmth of her body during the ride from the residence. Harold sat beside her in a county transport chair, wrapped in the same gray blanket he had worn when they took him. His face looked thinner, but his eyes stayed fixed on the recorder in the center of the table. Commissioner Ruth Bell, 58, wore narrow glasses on a chain and turned pages with a silver pen. This emergency review is being recorded. A red light blinked on the city device. Harold flinched. Maya shifted the recorder half an inch away from him. Captain Lawson stood across the room with Paula Red at his left. His tie was perfect. His shoes had dried without a mark. Mark Ellison waited near the door, uniform jacket open, notebook in one hand. Evelyn Price sat behind Maya, fingers wrapped around Maya's returned badge as if it were a rosary. Commissioner Bell looked up. "Ms. Brooks, you are not law enforcement. Explain why you are presenting police material." Lawson answered before Maya could. "Because she removed property, manipulated a confused former detective, and turned a care facility into a spectacle." Maya did not look at him. Bell's pen stopped. "Captain, I asked Ms. Brooks." The room cooled around the correction. Maya placed the cracked cassette on the table. "Mr. Whitaker asked me not to let it disappear." Did he understand what he was asking? Harold's hand trembled. "I understood." Lawson exhaled through his nose. "Commissioner, this is precisely the issue. Harold has repeated fragments from old cases for years. Ms. Brooks has personal motives and no chain of custody." "Personal motives?" Bell asked. Lawson opened a folder. Lena Brooks was her mother. A murmur moved through the back row. Evelyn lowered her eyes. Mark's jaw tightened. Maya folded her hands. "Yes." "You concealed that?" "I was not asked." Lawson smiled faintly. "Convenient." Maya opened the brittle envelope and removed the half-photograph. The paper rasped against the table. "This was hidden by Mr. Whitaker in a basement wall. His writing is on the envelope." Bell leaned forward. "Read it." Maya's voice stayed low. "For Lena's children, if I fail again." Harold covered his mouth with the blanket edge. Lawson said, "Sentimental material is not evidence." "No," Maya said, "but it explains why he kept trying." Thomas Reed had wired the old recorder to a cleaner speaker. He stood near the outlet, cap in both hands, watching the cord as if it might betray him. Bell nodded. "Play the tape." Thomas pressed the button. For 4 seconds, only static filled the room. The red lamp on the official recorder glowed beside the old black machine. Maya watched Harold's fingers curl against his knee. Then Lena Brooks's voice came through. "My name is Lena Brooks. I am making this statement at 4:16 p.m. Someone in the back swallowed audibly. The recording dragged and hissed, but every word landed. "The wall clock in interview room 2 says 4:22. That is not correct. The tape began before they changed it." Bell's pen stopped moving. A younger man's voice entered. "Mrs. Brooks, just answer the question." Lena answered. "Ask why Officer Lawson took the box out before the detective signed it." The room went still. Paula Red's clipboard lowered to her side. Lawson stepped forward. "That tape has clearly degraded. There is no foundation for identifying that voice." Mark spoke from the door. "I verified the archive pull. Case 17-04 was requested last Thursday by Captain Lawson." Lawson turned. "Deputy, you're out of line." Bell raised one hand. "Let him finish." Mark walked to the table and placed a copy of the request log beside the cassette. "No court order. No evidence supervisor. Same case connected to the transfer of Mr. Whitaker." Paula's lips parted, then closed. Bell looked at her. "Sergeant Red, did you authorize the county move?" Paula swallowed. "Captain Lawson told me medical clearance was already obtained." "Did you see it?" Paula's eyes moved to Harold, then to the blank form in Bell's folder. "No." Lawson's face hardened. "This is becoming theatrical." Maya finally looked at him. "Then why did you come to the basement last night?" The question stayed in the air longer than it should have. Bell turned another page. "Captain?" Lawson did not answer. Harold reached for the cassette. Maya guided it closer, but not into his hand. The cracked plastic caught the white light. Harold whispered, "You missed one box." Belle leaned toward him. "Mr. Whitaker, what box?" Harold closed his eyes. For a moment, Maya thought the room had asked too much of him. Then he opened them and pointed at the official recorder with its small red light. "The one your father never knew I copied," he said. Paula took one step back from Lawson, and the chair legs behind her scraped softly across the floor. Victor Hale came in at 10:26 a.m. with rain on his glasses and a flat records box against his chest. No one spoke while he set it beside the cracked cassette. The box smelled of dust and old glue. "State your role," Commissioner Bell said. "Municipal Records Archivist, 31 years." Lawson leaned back. "He has no authority over police evidence." Victor touched the lid. "That is why I kept the logs separate." He opened a ledger to 1997. The heater clicked, then blew cold air across Maya's ankles. Harold sat beside her with the blanket pulled to his chest. Victor turned the page toward Bell. "Case 17-04. Interview tape and statement materials left police custody for 46 minutes. 46? Mark asked. Signed out at 4:21 p.m. Returned at 5:07 p.m. Bell read the line. Signed out by Warren Lawson. The captain's hand closed around the chair arm. My father has been dead 14 years. Dead men can leave paperwork, Victor said. Paula lowered herself into a chair. I was told the evidence never left the department. It did, Victor said. And the receiving signature is not Detective Whitaker's. Harold's lips shook. I signed after. After what? Bell asked. After the box came back. Warren said Lena was upset, said I should get coffee. When I returned, the clock was different. Lawson stood. This is memory contamination. Paula turned. Then why did your father sign the tape out before the interview ended? Bell's pen stopped. Sergeant Red? Paula's nails pressed into the clipboard. Captain Lawson told me Ms. Brooks was exploiting a vulnerable resident. He never mentioned his father's name. I also removed materials from Mr. Whitaker's room without a complete inventory. Harold bent forward. Maya touched his sleeve. Breathe. Victor slid out a clear sleeve. There is a duplicate receipt misfiled under facility storage. Bell took it. The top listed a brown box from Briar Glen basement storage. At the bottom were two names, Warren Lawson in dark ink, Harold Whitaker, smaller beneath the word returned. Between them was an empty witness line. Maya stared at the blank space. For years, absence had been an empty chair, a closed bedroom, a birthday candle no one lit. Lawson said, A missing signature proves nothing. Maya placed the half photograph beside the receipt. It proves someone else was there. Bell looked down. Who? My brother, Caleb Brooks, 7 years old, red hooded coat. Harold covered his mouth with the blanket. Victor said quietly, There was no child listed in the report. No, Maya said. There wasn't. Bell faced Lawson. Did you request case 17-04 last Thursday? Yes, for an internal historical review. Without an order? Preliminary. Why was Mr. Whitaker transferred after he named this file? Lawson opened his mouth, then closed it. Paula pushed the clipboard away. Commissioner, amend my statement. I was used to suppress a witness. Harold reached for the ledger. Maya guided his hand to the blank witness line. I thought I failed her, he whispered. Maya looked at Lena's half face. Maybe someone made sure you would. Bell closed the ledger. This review is no longer administrative. Lawson rose. Commissioner. She lifted the phone. Bring in the external prosecutor. Secure every box connected to Case 17-04 before another signature disappears. Victor reached into the box, and beneath the empty sleeve, Maya saw the corner of another photograph, folded face down. The folded photograph made a dry clicking sound when Victor Hale lifted it from the box. Maya watched his thumb pause at the crease. Records aides waited outside the glass wall. Captain Lawson stood, one hand on his chair, as if sitting would mean the floor had shifted. "Careful," Bell said. Victor opened the photograph. It showed interview room 2. Cinder block walls, a clock, a metal table. Lena Brooks sat in her yellow dress. Harold stood near the door, holding a paper cup. Behind Lena, half hidden by the frame, a small boy in a red hood leaned against the wall. "Caleb." Maya's fingers curled beneath the table edge. Harold stared at the boy. He was there. Bell looked at the clock. 4:22. Victor placed the transcript beside it. "The recording begins at 4:16. Paula read, whispered, 6 minutes. "No," Maya said. "Those 6 minutes are why my family disappeared from every report." Lawson's face tightened. "You're making assumptions from a damaged photo." Bell turned to him. "Captain, sit down." He did not. Thomas adjusted the wire. The speaker hissed. Then Lena's voice entered the room. "My son is in the hallway. I want that on the record." A chair scraped in the back row. A younger male voice answered. "Your son is not part of this statement." He saw Officer Lawson take the envelope. Cold air from the vent touched Maya's face. Lena continued, "If anything happens to me, ask Detective Whitaker why his report time changed." Harold made a sound that was not speech. "I didn't hear that part," he said. "They played me the other tape." Bell leaned forward. "What other tape?" "The clean one. No clock. No boy." Paula stood slowly. "I removed a brown box from Mr. Whitaker's room and gave it to Captain Lawson." Lawson snapped, "Sergeant." She did not look at him. "I called him unstable because I trusted the captain." Bell's pen moved. "Where is that box now?" Paula swallowed. "Captain Lawson took it." Every face turned. Lawson's smile was gone. "This is an attack on a department that protected this town." Maya looked at Caleb's blurred red hood. "Protected who?" Before he answered, the door opened. A woman in a navy suit stepped in with a silver streak through dark hair. "Dana Whitmore," she said. "Assistant prosecutor." Dana studied the cassette, ledger, photograph, and blank witness line. "Secure this room. No one removes materials." Lawson reached for his phone. Donna held out her hand. "Captain, place that on the table." "This is absurd." "Then make it easy." Lawson looked toward the glass wall and saw the records aides watching him. Slowly, he set the phone down. Thomas pressed stop. The sudden silence had weight. Maya picked up the photograph. Caleb's small hand was open, fingers spread toward someone outside the frame. Harold whispered, "I'm sorry." Maya kept her eyes on the picture. "Then help me finish listening." Thomas rewound the final untouched section. The reels turned backward with a whine. When he pressed play, Lena's voice returned, faint but clear. "My name is Lena Brooks," she said, "and I am not confused." Maya closed her hand around the worn edge of the photograph as Dana opened a new evidence bag for a case that was no longer buried. By morning, every archive box from Case 17-04 sat on steel tables under new tags. Maya stood in the city records room with her sleeves rolled to the elbow. The air stung her wrists. Fluorescent lights buzzed above cardboard, and fresh seals clicked whenever an aide turned a box. Dana Whitmore signed one form. Prosecutor's hold. Nothing leaves without 2 signatures and a video log. Victor Hale watched from the end of the table. 31 years, and now they discover locks. Maya touched the nearest tag. Locks only matter if someone checks them. Harold Whitaker sat in a chair Evelyn had brought from the residence, wearing a blue sweater instead of the county blanket. His hands shook, but he kept his eyes open while each box was read aloud. "Interview tapes," an aide said. "Log sheets." "Photographs," Harold swallowed. "Say names." "Not categories?" Dana asked. "Names," Maya spoke softly. "Lena Brooks, Caleb Brooks, Harold Whitaker, Warren Lawson." Paper stopped rustling. Mark Ellison, near the door, lowered his notebook. Commissioner Bell entered with 2 council members. One wore a damp coat. The other checked his phone. "We are ready to announce changes," Bell said. "Secure storage, independent review, and digital preservation of old audio." Maya shook her head. "Interim changes are what people say when they want families to stop calling." The councilman frowned. "Miss Brooks, this matters. My mother gave a statement. My brother was in the room. Their names were removed for almost 30 years. Significant would have been someone noticing before a retired detective hid a tape in a wall." Harold's chair creaked. "She's right." Bell turned to him. "What would you ask for?" "Every case with a broken chain. Every tape with a missing minute. Every family told there was nothing more." Paula Red stood near the back wall in plain clothes. "I'll testify to the procedures we used," Paula said. "Not to defend them. I knew how to make a removal look routine." Bell wrote that down. Maya looked at the new seals. "Then make a rule no single officer can remove archived evidence, not because a captain asks." Dana added, "2-department authorization, external log, family notification when a closed case is reopened." Victor tapped the ledger. "And no pencil entries." For the first time, Harold almost smiled. Evelyn came in with weak coffee. She set 1 cup beside Harold with the handle turned toward his right hand. "I called the county unit," she told Maya. "They're reviewing every transfer request tied to police referrals." Evelyn's eyes reddened. "I should have said no sooner." Maya moved forms so Evelyn could sit. Bell faced the council members. "We vote today." The man with the phone lowered it. "We need legal review." Dana closed a folder. "You need public trust before Evening News asks why a housekeeper had to preserve evidence your system lost." When Bell slid the resolution across the table, the pen beside it looked heavier than any apology. Harold reached for Maya's hand. "You didn't come back for revenge," he said. Maya watched the aide seal the final box. The tag snapped shut with a clean, sharp sound. "No," she said. "I came back so the next box opens before everyone is gone." 3 months later, the memory room at Briar Glen Senior Residence opened with no ribbon. Maya preferred it that way. At 4:16 p.m., she unlocked the small room beside the library and turned on the lamp with the green shade. The walls held framed copies, not originals, Lena's photograph, the corrected evidence log, the public notice listing every archived case now under independent review. On the lowest shelf sat a tape recorder with no cassette inside. Harold Whitaker stood in the doorway, leaning on a cane instead of a blanket. His blue sweater hung loose at the shoulders, and his right hand still shook when he lifted it to the doorframe. "You made it too neat," he said. Maya adjusted the corner of one frame. "You hid evidence behind a basement wall. I thought neat was safer." He gave a breath that almost became a laugh. Outside, autumn leaves scraped the windows. The room smelled of lemon polish, fresh paint, and the weak tea Evelyn had carried in on a tray. Evelyn now walked slower past city officials, but she did not lower her eyes. She had resigned from the City Care Advisory Board, then helped write a new resident advocacy policy that required an outside witness before any police-requested transfer. "I signed the first training sheet this morning," Evelyn said from the hall. "Every supervisor, every nurse, even Thomas." Thomas appeared behind her with a toolbox. "I signed because the pen was blocking the donuts." Mrs. Carver sat near the window, wrapped in a purple shawl. "He cried during the video." Thomas pointed a screwdriver at her. "That is confidential maintenance information." Harold moved to the table, where the restored copy of Lena's recording rested in a clear case. Beside it, someone had set a cup of tea that had already gone cold. Maya noticed the pale circle it left on the coaster. The same kind of circle had stained Harold's napkin the first morning he wrote her mother's name. Dana Whitmore arrived just after the local reporter left. She wore the same navy suit, but her hair was pulled back, and the folder under her arm was thinner. "Final administrative update," she said. Maya did not reach for it. "Say it." Dana nodded. Brent Lawson resigned before the disciplinary hearing concluded. His certification is under state review. Paula Redd accepted a demotion and will testify in the full inquiry into archive removals. The department has been ordered to submit every closed evidence transfer involving Warren Lawson's unit. Harold looked down at the recorder. "And the criminal review?" Maya asked. "Open, slow, not buried." Maya accepted that answer because it did not pretend to be more than it was. Mark Ellison came in last, carrying 2 cardboard boxes with new metal seals. He had been transferred to the Independent Records Unit by choice, not punishment. He set the boxes on the table carefully. "First family notifications go out tomorrow," he said. 14 cases in the first batch. Mrs. Carver touched her shawl. 14 families waiting by phones. "No," Maya said softly. 14 families no longer being told there is nothing to check. Harold sat beside the cold tea. For a long moment, he studied the cassette case without touching it. "I used to think remembering was the punishment," he said. Maya pulled out the old photograph from her pocket. The fold line across Lena's yellow dress had softened from years of being carried. She placed it beside the restored photograph from interview room 2, where Caleb's red hood now showed clearly. "What is it now?" Harold asked. Maya looked at the 2 pictures. "A door." He nodded once. Later, when everyone drifted out, Maya stayed behind to turn off the lamp. In the hallway, the floor shone under quiet light. No captain stood there. No clipboard blocked the door. Only the aquarium pump hummed from the lobby, steady and small. Harold waited by the elevator. "You coming?" he asked. Maya picked up the cracked cassette, the one that had started everything, and placed it on the shelf below her mother's name. "In a minute." The room settled around the old tape. This time, nothing was hidden. If this story stayed with you, share in the comments whether you have ever seen someone dismissed, ignored, or treated like their voice did not matter, only for the truth to prove them right later. Sometimes dignity survives in quiet people, old records, forgotten rooms, and the one witness everyone underestimated. Share this story with someone who cares about justice, second chances, and the courage it takes to speak up without shouting. Subscribe for more emotional stories about quiet strength, accountability, and the kind of change that reaches beyond one person's pain. And if you believe the truth deserves protection before it is almost too late, leave a comment for Maya, Harold, and every family still waiting for answers.